Okay, with the new lights, I'm gonna top off. We have a rather big swamp here. Sometimes you can get a medium-sized swamp, and sometimes you can get a huge swamp. There's another pig head. That's going to be very... These are all going to be very important for later. So I've reached the end of the road, and I'm going to just keep moving. And make sure that I don't get caught up with a tentacles. I'm looking for more reeds. If we were going to find the eye bone, it would have been along this roadway. It looks like the roadway continues down here, so I guess we can head that way. Something you'll also notice is that frogs don't spawn out of the ponds in the swamp. Instead, the mosquitoes do at dusk. So that's something to make note of. I'm going to make sure that nothing is too dangerous here. Okay. Something I have to worry about is my hunger. So that's why I'm really glad we found all of those food items really fast. But let me tell you, finding the reeds is a major game changer. You're kind of on the hook for a bit until you find your reeds. So in other words, until you find your swamp. So after you get yourself going, the next thing you want to do is find your swamp. This is a very important biome because of it. This is pretty much a boss biome. It's on the same level as like claws and the others if you don't know how to do it directly. Yeah, it helps your hunger a little bit, hurts your sanity, it helps your health a lot, but I really don't need the blue mushroom. I'm going to put the torch down only so I can pick up this this is also a set piece, so it's always a set of items. You will always get a free pickaxe, a regular pickaxe, with this set piece, but I'm also going to be farming it for these things, the marble. It's another fifth kind of, or fourth kind of mineral that's going to be very important for us in winter. And I'll explain in due time. Just make sure that if you see marble statues, especially one like this, farm it for its... Actually, we don't need this anymore. Farm it for its marble. Ooh! That guy was rather close to that. Okay, you know what? Yeah, unfortunately that's a bit dangerous. So, let's just continue on without that, right? For this tutorial purposes, we're not going to worry about the figure sketches. Worry about them later. Okay, let's see if this area is safe. It looks safe. A way you can tell is if you're close to a tentacle is if your sanity starts dropping, but since I have a garland on, it'll probably just halt increasing. So in other words, I should always see this small arrow. If I see it go away, that means I might be near a tentacle. If you can also pay attention in here and listen to your sound, you'll also know when... Okay, we see that there's one over there, so just watch. If you look closely, you can see like ripplings in the ground where they are. You can kind of hear them growling almost. Or you see here like a bubbling sense. If you notice how my garland, yeah. See how I don't have... Here, I have sanity gain. In other words, these creatures have a negative sanity aura. So you can always tell when they're nearby. Okay, just keep running. Don't panic. Don't stop moving. Just keep moving. Bob and weave if you absolutely have to. I'm going to try and get as many reeds as I possibly can. Okay, it's dusk now, so these creatures came out. I have to be very careful. Paying attention to my surroundings. If I ever have to drop what I'm doing, if too many enemies are on me, then leave, then do that. Obviously, we'll be coming back here later where the reeds will be regrown. And we'll be focusing on those as well. Okay. You know what? Oh, okay. So, yeah, this was another set piece. This little piece right here is called the Merm and Pig War. There were a couple of pigs that sprouted here on their own. Or spawned here on their own. And unfortunately, they didn't do well against the merms. They never really do, actually. Probably because the merm house, this is right there. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so because of this important wormhole, sometimes you can get wormholes that are duds. Unfortunate, but this is true. So that wormhole is not a dud, and it is very useful because it is near Pig King, and it's a bit of a walk, but it's much better than walking from here to here. It's a bit faster, and if we have business, we can combine it with any business we have with the Pig King. And you'll also notice that the time has come for my light bulbs to finally rot, and they became rot. Now, you might think that rot is actually quite useless, but if you'll notice, it has the option to fertilize stuff or fertilize the plot, and that is where its value lies. And when I get back to base, we will have hopefully uncovered a few things to where I can show you that right now. So yeah, the edited versions of these videos is going to have much more linear, more instant frame-by-frame things that were important. Right now, I'm literally just double-tracking back to base. Picking up a few things because ingredients are very important to have. It might seem like I'm racing against time, and to be fair, it can be very easy to sort of, I don't know, fall into a sort of bad habit of picking everything up and not, you know, turning it into crockpot dishes. And don't feel bad if you've done that. I've absolutely done that. Just realize that once you know what you can do with the ingredients and make them into full combined crockpot dishes, compounded dishes, instead of individually, it'll make more sense about how important gathering actually is. You just want to make sure you beat that timer and things aren't too rotten by the time it happens. Oops, I almost overshot base. Okay, well, we've done pretty good so far about not getting hurt, but it's actually quite possible some of you guys have been hurt, and that's, you know, totally normal. So I'm gonna get a fire going. And I'm also gonna do some things. I'm gonna cook some things. You'll notice if you cook some things, it restores some of their freshness. And honestly, this is the game's in-game mechanic for how to prevent that. This is how you restore freshness to certain ingredients. And they can still be used in the crock pot. There's something to remember. Although I will mention that there are a few outliers, so just sort of put an asterisk there. Oh yes, occasionally this will happen. If you hear this really spooky, you know, Jack-in-the-Box sort of sound, you're gonna see this thing. It's called the Dark Hand. It's trying to extinguish our flame. But if you have something that can produce light, you can actually chase it away. Alright, I'm going to teach you a very valuable and very easily attainable and very, indeed, hunger-efficient dish. I'm going to put in 1 butterfly wing, 2 carrots, and 1 twig. Yep, you can cook twigs in this game. Just be very careful. The meatball dish does not excludes twigs. So if you put a twig in there, you're going to end up with either wet goop, which is this game's version of a failed recipe, or you're going to end up with something less. This does take a decent amount of time to cook, so let's be wary of this. Also, while I'm at it, I'm going to cook these green caps. Now, red caps aren't particularly useful for anything, but green caps, when they're cooked, not when they're raw, but when they're cooked, hurt you for a tiny bit of health, but they restore a good amount. They restore 15 sanity. That's really good. So, the ingredient I made was for an item called Butter Muffin. Butter Muffin does restore a little hunger and a little sanity, but what it does is it restores 20 health. So it's essentially a... blue mushroom. And it's a way to expedite hunger by using a twig, which is inedible, and turning it into something that is edible. Okay, now I'm going to do something called, well, planting or transplanting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replant these saplings nearby, so that when they finally grow up, I have a bunch of twigs at my disposal. I also know that there's a sapling up here. You can just dig it out. Now, I should note that there is something very unique about the saplings. The saplings don't need fertilization to be reused. This is just what they look like when they haven't been used yet. Conversely, let's look at the grass tufts. Let's put them down here. I'm just gonna put them in a linear fashion. Now, it might be a little hard to tell at first, but they are actually look a bit dried up. And they're not gonna produce grass for us no matter how much time goes by. Unless you fertilize them. See how they blustered up? So you need rot or even manure produced by our friendly beefaloes to produce more grass for yourself. And this is another very important mechanic. Transplanting resources so that they are more accessible to you in a much more convenient fashion. This game is a lot about resource and time management, especially in the beginning. And we didn't have to stop at 10. If we wanted to, we could keep going. I just wanted to give you a for instance of something to start us off. Because like I said, we're in this for 1 year, and we only got 9 days down. So something else that's occurred is that I am running low on certain key ingredients for not just for cooking, but mostly also for crafting things. We have a good amount of flint, but what I really want right now, what we could really go for, is some gold. Some gold and some rocks. Now, a good place that still has these are going to be out here in the mosaic biome, but I also saw a biome that was very important somewhere around. I think it was near Pig King. No, I saw gray turf, which is the rocky biome turf, and the rocky biome is always home to a quarry of some kind, which has, well, it has a bunch of boulders. But where did I see it? Oh, no, that's a wasp tree. Come on now, let me think. Where did I see it? I know I saw it in the edge of my screen, which means it absolutely should show up on the map when I scroll over here. Those are the rest of the deciduous biome. I think it was over here. Yeah, it's over here. Okay, I'm glad I caught that. So we're gonna go back up the road, and we're gonna go look for some more things to mine. However, I don't know about you, but two things. One, this regular pickaxe isn't cutting it. No pun intended, I know it's pickaxe. Anyway, you get it. So I'm going to go ahead and make an opulent pickaxe. Unfortunately, this leaves us with only one gold, but that's fine. The opulent pickaxe has more than 100 uses, or 100 swings. So we're going to take this, and we're going to go do a couple of things along the way. Oh, I'm sorry, there was one other thing I needed to do. I think I am... Oh, I'm a few twigs off. Okay. I need some more twigs. Thankfully, there's a bunch of other stuff over here, so just now that I showed you that, for instance, for transplanting stuff, let's go ahead and get some more stuff for us to have on hand. Now, you don't want to have to go too out of control. I think for one player, I think a maximum of 30 of each resource would be fine. So yeah, 30 berry bushes, I mean in the end of it. 30 saplings and 30 grass tufts should keep us supplied for a good amount of time. You don't have to go crazy and collect like every single solitary one you see. Please don't do that, it's gonna waste your time. Because we're on a timer as well. We have 12 more days of autumn. That's 12 more days of us to get ready for winter. And I can tell you right now, we're not there yet. But we're getting there, slowly but surely. I will also mention that as a flower, the rose over here is particularly unique because if you go to pick it, it has a thorn. Every flower is like this. Just be aware of that. Don't get freaked out if you pick it up and it's there. Okay. This is us heading towards... Actually, you know what? To free up some space and to give us some hunger, I'm gonna go ahead and eat the morsel. Okay, so in other words, by this point, we've started to really set up the fundamentals of our basic base. We're starting to get renewable resources going. We have our stations set, or rather our one station. It's going to become a little bit more in a bit. We also have what is the beginning of what is called the kitchen, which is you know, a place with not just cooking but more than one crock pot. It's also going to require something else, but we haven't found a clockwork enemy yet. And as soon as we do, we'll have access to an item called a gear. And once we have a gear, we're going to have access to something else. That'll actually start making our kitchen up. But while we're here, let's actually make some things. So I wanted the more twigs because I need more. If you couldn't tell, twigs are essentially used as handles for tools in this game. Something you can always make from the beginning, but may not necessarily have the resources for immediately until you pick things up. And again, the priority always stems to getting wood from the axe and getting minerals from the pickaxe. Here, let me organize this a little bit better. And by organize, I mean strew things across the ground. Let's go ahead and plant these. This is geometric placing, by the way. You wouldn't have this kind of accuracy on a console, unfortunately. These are a little bit out of whack, but okay, sorry, I'm a bit perfectionist. There we go. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, we were gonna make the hammer. The hammer is an incredibly important tool. I'm certain you're not tired of hearing me saying that. But before we get too carried away, let's go ahead and light up our campfire. And you know what? Being stuck in this set area for light is a good instance to start cooking. So how about we make some meatballs to go? Better yet, now that we're here, let's prototype our much needed papyrus. So we're gonna leave this extra cut reed here, but this is why we turned on Winter's Fest. Gift wrap. Before Winter's Fest, a lot of the game kind of devolved a little bit into some tedium by having to, well, again, okay, it was still an adventure game, but this and one other, its successor item, the bundling wrap, are why I argue that the game is meant to start as a survival game, but can be. Doesn't have to be, but can be something more. This bundling wrap is going to offer us a lot of good avenues, and it's a very simple enough recipe. I say simple enough, but since papyrus is so important anyway, you're going to want to have some anyhow. It requires one flower petal and one papyrus, and each construction gets you 4 bundling wrap to use. Now, what does the bundling wrap do? I will tell you in a second. But right now, let's cook our food. So something I'll say is this. The freshness of all the ingredients is taken into account when it determines the freshness of, you know, the crockpot dish that's cooked. So something you're always against in this game is, of course, time. And that's something important to take note of. Time, because as time is running down, you're getting hungry, you always have to keep yourself fed, and the seasons are going to change. And with the changing of seasons cause the changing of events and certain factors you have to think about. This is also why I say it's very important to start in autumn. Autumn is the most neutral of the seasons. I have something very important to do with the seeds, but since I don't want to put them on the ground and have birds just randomly whittle away at them, I'm keeping them in my inventory to prevent that. If you'll also notice, I have to chase away birds sometimes. And you know what? We're gonna need a little bit of more rot. But here, let me show you another very important ingredient. The cooked birch nuts. Now, if the as useful and free and open as they are, you just have to go at night and collect green mushroom or blue mushrooms. And as useful and readily available as butter muffin is, there is another superior healing dish that exists because of the birch nut. If you put 1 birch nut, 2 berries, and a twig in, you will get not a butter muffin or meatballs, but a new dish. By the way, the green caps, the cooked green caps more specifically, are going to be your primary source of re-stabilizing your sanity. But then we get trail mix. Trail mix is important because it restores 30 health. Since I have too much of a use for these, I'm just gonna eat them right now. It doesn't hurt me in terms of healing or sanity, but it only helps a tiny bit for hunger. But we're gonna head and do that. So here's why the bundling wrap, here's why the gift wrap and the extension the bundling wrap is important. Whenever you use these items, your character is gonna go into an animation of wrapping things. And at this point, you have the option to store certain items within there. And you have it packed away in this cute little bag. Why is this important, you ask? They are no longer rotting. Yeah, their freshness level is frozen until you're ready to access them again and you make this up. Now, let's see here. Since we're going to go back for some more reads eventually, I'm going to make myself one more pile of 4 gift wrap, and I'm going to leave this papyrus here. It shouldn't be eaten by anything on the ground. And we're going to go out and we're going to take our opulent pickaxe, we're going to take our hammer, and we're going to be relying on not only food and collecting food and giving ourselves more resources later, but we have safety of our well-kept, well-preserved food items in our food bundle, essentially. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for more rot because I have 11 berry bushes and I have no rot to fertilize them. Now, alternatively, I could come up here and collect the manure from the beefalo, but they're not particularly manure-making machines as it might seem. In other words, the game checks if there's any manure near a beefalo, and since they wander, they can wander far enough to pretty much go about 3 times before they just stop outright. So in other words, yeah, you have to keep coming back over here and picking it up. Now, I will say that the garland used to rot into, I think it was 12 piles of rot, or at least 6, but it was more. I think unfortunately now it leaves only 1 or 2 piles. I may be wrong about that. Sorry. Oh, okay, what I was looking for was the cave opening. Okay, I almost thought this was burnt. It's actually just old. That is the 4th and final stage of evergreen trees. Oh, that was a different opening. Where did we go for our cave entrance? Oh, was this over here? I'm not sure if the bats are dumb enough to attack the beefalo, but if they were, that might be a source of meat. Because I should mention, the bat wings are 0.5 meat. It's just we haven't gotten around to equipping ourselves with a weapon or armor yet, so we don't worry about combat. That is going to change on this next outing. So I have to say, meta-wise, there's enough for like maybe 2 videos here. At least 2, possibly even a 3rd. Okay, I'm gonna go back up this way because 1, I saw the quarry over here, and 2, there's the wormhole that leads back to the forest and our mandrake forest. We definitely want to come out the other side during the day. Ultimately, I will say this, you're never not gathering in this game. Even though we have plenty of hunger for now, always keep making more. Always keep earning more. Always keep getting supplies. Especially if you're playing the survival game. Now, this crockpot boon actually came in with some things. The spoil thing. Oh, something they also added in this game I should mention are these little recipe guides. Well, before... These are incredibly handy, and I think they're great. It even has the trail mix. Okay, yeah. So, they give you some suggestions. Something that's also great about this game is that certain certain crockpot recipes are not hard and fastened. That's why I've been telling you the whole hullabaloo about this is this many units versus this many units. That's because as long as it meets the unit requirements for like a category of food item, you can reach that that recipe's, you know, crockpot dish. So yeah, when I say the technical recipe for meatball requires 0.5 meat and 3 fillers that are not twigs, and is not 1 unit over monster meat. So not 2 units of monster meat. The reason I say that is because monster meat is actually technically the most ready source of meat in this game. But after I gave you that description of how bad it can affect you, that's why. Now I just discovered something that is very pivotal in winter, but that is not right now, so we're not going to worry about it too much. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of efficiency here. I'm going to put our light source down. And I'm going to work around it in this radius. And because I want more rocks, I'm even going to crush these regular boulders. The only thing we really don't care about is the niter. Something you can also do is, just to sort things out better, is that you can gather up a bunch of things and then just put them down. When you pick up the lantern, just be ready to immediately re-equip it so you're not caught out in the dark. Okay, so I actually thought this area was a quarry. It's not. What it is called a triple MacTusk biome. That is a very special set piece. And it has 3 of these walrus camps. These walrus camps are not occupied right now, but in winter, they will be. And they're the key to a very, very crucial item. Let's scare these guys and get some free twigs, free grass. Free cut grass. Cutting down any gold veins we see. Okay, I'm actually feeling my backpack a bit more. These will be important for later. Let's not worry about them right now. Just gonna live off the land a little bit. Let's see here. Well, we have that pig village that we can get all those other. This isn't even important enough for rot. We have that pig village that we can get for other berry bushes, so we all clumped up together, so don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so I was technically right. That is indeed a small quarry. But before I go searching out anywhere else, there's a couple of more important things that I want to focus in on. We already got some more gold. I wish I had a little bit more, but just as long as you always have enough to keep using, to keep repeating and getting more opulent pickaxes, these should pay for themselves. But I know that it is finite. You will eventually run out of gold vein boulders, but by that point, we'll have a way to get more gold later. Now, this is a small set piece. It's always going to look like this. If you see bushes like these, never pick them. These are wolves in disguise. Yay, it gave us 2. I'm okay on flint for now. We can always drop it here and pick it up later. Okay, you know what? Let's head towards this direction because it's heading towards something important that I wanted to use the hammer on. Okay, now, a little bit in the swamp we saw this, so you better be certain that we're also going to go back for those as well. These are pig heads, and they're always around this set piece, this square set piece right here. This is called a touchstone set piece, hence the name in the center here. If you were to die, you can come over with your ghost and haunt this, and you'll come back to life. Just realize that where you died is where your stuff is going to be. But what's most important is that these pig heads are not needed for it to work, but when you break them down with the hammer breaks things down into pieces that make it up. Now, you can't make a pig head without a mod, but it actually takes 4 twigs and 4 of this item that we're picking up to make it. So breaking it down will give us 2 of each. The hammer is incredibly useful and will be necessary for every part of this game. It is also your early access to pigskin. Now, you can get pigskins from the pigmen by fighting them, but there's a catch. It's drop rate. They have 3 things that they can drop. 2 times out of 3, so 66.7% times, they will drop 1 big meat, and the other 33.3% time, they will drop a pigskin. Why is the pigskin important? It is the most pivotal ingredient necessary for your early game combat and defense. Now, I'm going to be a little bit stealthy. I'm going to just kind of run in here really quick and pick up this meat before they aggro to me. Because this spoiled meat isn't super... spoiled fish isn't super, you know, required, I'm actually going to drop it there. Now, it looks like this catcoon and these frogs have been fighting each other. But to the winner go the spoils, or maybe not so. You can absolutely pillage this stuff as needed. Okay, dusk has arisen. And you know what? It is day 11. And I am very glad to be here near day 11 because of some... Stop me if you've heard this before. A very important event is going to happen. Remember I told you the phases of the moon were important? Well, on every odd 10th of a day, so starting on day 11, it'll be a full moon. On day 21, it will be a new moon. And then on day 31, it'll be a full moon. On day 41, it'll be a new moon. 51 will be a full moon. So on and so forth. Now, the reason I want to be around here at midnight is because... Or at... Sorry, not at midnight. At nightfall is because... something special is going to happen to the Glommer statue. Let's see here. We have enough items on us to make a temporary campfire. Yours will look like this. And I can take the opportunity to synthesize some more items to carry things along. Something I'll also show you is an advantage of bundling or gift wraps. See me saying them over again. Is as long as I don't have to access it, I can start to put things away and I consolidate space in my inventory. Now, there are a few backpacks in this game, a few variations of it. Some of them have more slots, some of them help your food to be maintained a bit longer. But the more important ones are the ones with more slots. Sorry, at the end of the day, that's fact. Okay, I don't think we're going to collect any more charcoal, but just in case we are, we're definitely not going to collect any more manure. We are hopefully going to come across some more pigskin. And honestly, this morsel, we're not going to pick up too many morsels, so we'll pack these away. Also, if you'll notice, we're running low on hunger, so I'm going to open up my kit and get my care package here, eat 2 meatballs, and then I'm set. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bundle them back up, and there you go. You see the healthy loop in action. Also, since these are so close to each other and it's a source of light, I'm going to go ahead and pick these up now. And it is nightfall. If this was a full moon and the pigs were out, they would have turned into creatures called werepigs. Werepigs are dangerous because it's against their control. It's obviously story-wise, it's like a curse. But they would be hostile towards us. Now, the reason we come over to the Glommer statue is, wait a minute, am I seeing double? No, you come over to the Glommer statue, you pick Glommer's flower, and you get Glommer himself. Yes, he is kind of ugly cute. Glommer is very important for a bunch of reasons. But what's really nice, if you notice, if you go up next to him, my sanity isn't dropping anymore. That's right, Glommer has a positive sanity aura. Okay, sorry about that. I thought something needed my attention immediately. It was false alarm. I also grabbed some water. I'm talking a bit much. Okay, so yeah. Glommer only shows up on full moon nights at the Glommer statue. Getting him as soon as possible will always help you in the long run, not just because he's a positive sanity aura, but because he produces what's called Glommer's goop, which is very useful as a fertilizer, and will of course be very important for any other avenue that you might want to take beyond this. So as it becomes daytime, we will go down here to our mandrake forest and our swamp, and we'll take the time to reacquire certain things, or acquire certain things. Oh, would you look at that? My inventory is already full of stuff. Okay, let's pack some more things up. Put the tufts away. If you need to pause to make a choice of an okay thing to do, I don't imagine getting any wood immediately. Neither the charcoal, so let's pack those up. So yeah, one thing that we've been asking for is some way to label these. I guess that's part of the challenge, is you need to remember what's in what bundle, otherwise you keep using them up. So if you pick a mandrake while it is daytime, it is rather unfortunate, but their sacrifice is a necessary one. These are the mandrakes that are the same things that are key ingredients to making the pan flutes, like I said. So, depending on the size of your world, the smallest ones should still have a minimum of 2. The largest ones on PC should have like 4 or 5. But remember, in return for the size of your world, you have to deal with, you know, more travel time. And the mandrake should always show in the grassy portion of the mandrake forest. So this one might be behind a few things. I really hope that wasn't our only one. It's a medium world. We should have at least 2. Huh. Well, how do you like that? Oh, it could be up here. Just gotta be careful walking in between these merms. Yeah, the game's world generation is not perfect, and it is totally possible to get shirked on. You can always expect at least one. And even though we're playing just for survival and won't be using it so much in combat, like you would absolutely need for a more advanced gameplay, yeah, don't worry about it. Okay, until we drop off Glomer's flower, he's going to be following us. Do be careful, he can die. So be aware of that. If he dies, he should regenerate within a day. This goes for most of your followers, or at least the ones that have what I like to call is a it's sort of an anchor. It's an item anchor that goes with them. So as long as we have a constant stream of reeds turned to papyrus and petals, which flowers just naturally regenerate on their own. Yeah, we have gift trap. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's time for the next hound wave. Funny enough, I think if we play our cards right, we can actually get these merms to fight for us. Right now they're aggro to us, but it's also possible for them to get angry at the dogs. I also need to be careful because I might lose Glomer if I don't keep him with me, so this is going to be a little bit... This is primarily your best form of defense in the early game, in the earliest game, is, you know, trying to dodge danger or have it fly or have it flung onto other enemies. Uh-oh, I got hit. Okay, well, it looks like that one hound got distracted by either the mosquitoes or the... Or he came back around to us somehow. Okay, unfortunately, he aggroed onto Glommer, and I don't want that either. So I'm going to show you what kiting is. So what you're going to do is, these guys attack fast, and their pattern is very simple. You hit them once, wait for their attack, go back, hit them again, and run away. And then hopefully you'll round out. I'm gonna come back for that Houndstooth later, but I'm actually glad that we took a little bit of damage, because it just shows the necessity now for us acquiring some armor. And something to fight with. Now, if I remember correctly, okay, yeah. So our base is angled downwards. So as we go about thinking about, you know, making our armor for the first time, I should probably emphasize that armor is in this game to make sure that you don't die in like 1 or 2 hits. Because a lot of what's going to happen is you're going to get swarmed by things occasionally, like with the bigger hound waves. Eventually they'll definitely get to that point. They'll expect you to be ready. And also for bigger bosses, and when the time comes. So yeah, it's going to be very important at that time. So as far as trail mix is concerned, we have plenty of opportunities around us with these adult birch nuts. To heal us, which we do need some healing now. So another thing that's important to note, if you can't see something, you can't interact with it. So even though yeah, even though the fire pit's right in front of me, unless Wilson sees it, he can't get it going. And there comes the night hands causing trouble. Which way are you coming from? Over here? You can get 1 to 2 of these guys. Yep, there's the second one. It's just it doesn't fully extinguish your fire, but it definitely lowers it. Okay. Actually, don't need this on right now, and especially don't need it now. Okay, Glommer is going to stay at our base where he'll be safe, provided we run away whenever there's a hound wave. But something I should also mention is, since we don't need the science machine, we can break it down for a small refund and get some of the items back. Ah, yes. Insight. Remember I said a new addition to that was skill trees? This is how it's gained. So, how should I explain this? Well, like any other game, you have a skill tree. And that skill tree has a path. Every 12 or 13 days, you will gain what's called Insight, and especially if you start playing Wilson, this is what you will see. I've already played as Wilson a little bit, and I'm on the same page with Glurms, another well-known content creator for the game, in that these should probably reset every single run, but I digress. So, we already have transmutation. In other words, I'm not going to go over this just yet. I feel that should be its own separate video because it's been covered. It's also rather self-explanatory. Being a vanilla character, Wilson is mainly focused on surviving better and making more efficient use of resources. So naturally down here, I have, you know, alchemy of different kinds of transmutations. You can change some ores into better ones or vice versa, gems to other gems, and, you know, hair or furs to furs and stuff like that. So I've been doing recently is improving his beard growth rate because it's going to be very significant for winter. So we could go over this a little bit later, but really this is just more ease of use of making use of what you have. So when the time comes, we'll go over this. But in the meantime, let's unpack what we have. And consolidate our resources. Okay, we have a full stack of brass. I'm gonna make some rope. I guess for this portion, I should actually have the music on. Give some atmosphere again. Okay, as it turns out, 20 is the full stack for gift wrap, so that's our maximum stack right there. We have some meats that we can use. But before we do that, let's worry about armor and weapons. Okay, the basic weapons you're going to be focusing on are going to be... or armors that you're going to be focusing on depend on pigskin and rope. For the football helmet, this reduces all incoming damage by 80%. So if you take 10 damage, you take 2 instead. Much more desirable given what we've been faced with. Since we prototyped it, we can make it anytime on the fly. However, the next important weapon we need requires 2 big meat. So let's put our armor to the test. More often than not, you're going to make a spear as necessary. The spear does 34 damage. It's not a lot, but it's better than the 25 flat damage of any tool, or even less in some other cases. Our first harvest has come, so let's go ahead and always pick these up. And here you can see the positive feedback loop of having these resources close to us. But now that we can fight, we have a better, I should say, more improved methodology of acquiring meats. Specifically, with this loadout, we can go hunt. But more importantly, with the armor, we can fight more reliably. In other words, the armor will give us more forgiveness for fighting certain things. And this will also give me a better instance of emphasizing kiting. You hit the tall bird once, after you hit it, you wait for it to attack, hit it twice, and then run away. Sometimes you can get hit, it's totally fine. And that is the pattern for fighting these big things. We win! To the winner go the spoils, in this case 2 big meat. It really helps having the roadway there, because that allowed me to increase my speed as necessary for getting away. Now, I should also mention, the tall bird nests can be harvested for what is called a tall bird egg. And this is a very important, very near game-changing food item. Because think about it, not only are these nests near our base, which is a very good thing, but there is a very big recipe involving this very big egg. 1 tall bird egg, 1 unit of vegetable, so carrot will do, and 2 twigs. Yep, just 2 twigs. And watch this. This food item, this crockpot dish, is so breaking. Now, something I will say for this is we are going to be using this particular dish, especially now that it's readily available for us. But I'll categorize crockpot foods thusly. There are recipes that exist for the specialty of one of the 3 attributes in the game. So in other words, there's crockpot dishes that focus on hunger, like meatballs. There's crockpot dishes that focus on sanity, and there's crockpot dishes that focus on health. However, there does exist within the game, after you've, streamlined certain resource managements and etc. farms, effectively. Both literal and figurative, in the traditional gaming sense. Premium crockpot dishes. And this is one of those crockpot dishes. For just 1 tallbird egg, 1 unit of vegetable, and something as low as 2 twigs, we're starting to starve in the game called Don't Starve, but I'm not worried at all, because Clay actually did it. They gave us access to a premium food dish. Look at my stats. Now look at them. Yeah. I just got maximum hunger and healed for 60 health. And just a little bit of sanity on the side, because why not? Tall scotched eggs are immensely important. So much so that I've developed a tallbird farm for them. But honestly, I think we might make a small one. I think it would suit us in summer, maybe just to get a small one going. But yeah. Actually, no, on just Wilson, you wouldn't be able to actually be able to make it. But I guess character switching is something we're going to aim for a little bit, but I digress. We needed those 2 big meats so we can make one of the best weapons in early and mid-game in the game. Is the Hambat. Maybe so, but the Hambat is very unique. Remember I told you how tools, in this case weapons, dissipate with use? For instance, we use the spear on just the tallbird. Use it 15%. This Hambat doesn't go off of durability. It goes off of freshness. So what does that mean? Well, the Hambat starts with maximum damage at maximum freshness. And then that effectiveness goes down with spoilage. So at base, it starts at 59.5 damage. And it will go down slightly from there. And you'll see the damage numbers, which is why another reason I included the damage numbers being shown. So this will help illustrate that. So now, by the way, as long as we have, we already prototyped these, so as long as we have the ingredients for them, we can keep making them. Now, something I have ignored up until this point is the crafting tab. Now, the crafting tabs are for your own personalization. They're for ease of use. I just didn't want to potentially overwhelm anybody with more things to look through. I generally organize these in terms of how early or late in the game they become accessible. I also need to do a few things. Hold on. For the sake of this series, I'm going to go ahead and re-establish the proper skins for these. Okay. So yeah, now we have a means of acquiring more food, specifically more meat, and at an increased rate. And as night falls, I realize a couple of things. One, first thing I'm going to do is start a fire. But 2, I'm going to need more fuel for my lantern. But I'm also going to want to make some more meatballs. So this is where things are going to branch out a little bit more. I would have highly suggested prioritizing what I've done. Almost beat by beat. Go look for this at this time, go look for this at this time, etc. So in the meantime, I suppose we could follow a little bit of the same routine. But if you wanted to right now, we've got 8 days until winter. You could probably take a day or 2 to go and head and procure some food supplies, because that's what I'm going to do right now. So something I wanted to give, this is a little bit of an advanced aspect, if you will, but bear with me. So this is called a pitchfork. The pitchfork, if you bring it out, is an item for digging up the turf, quite literally. Now, why is this important? Because organization is something that's going to be very important in the game's overall structure and how you conduct yourself. This is also where a lot of creative expression can be done. Also, the dirt you dig up, if you don't want it anymore, you can use it for fuel. So, I am going to start making a few segments of our base, if you will, that will correlate to certain aspects of our base. In other words, the game generates in the world its own set pieces, much like I pointed out to you. We're going to make what's effectively our own set pieces. Now, I have my own designs, and you will, of course, have yours. And what I'm giving you is just the basic bare bones, and that's what we're going to keep going off of. But right now, I want to go to... I want to go underground again. Because there's two things I want to do right now. We have... well, 7 days now until winter. And when winter rolls by, we're going to be in a little bit of a bind. Because, like I said, autumn is about preparing for winter, winter for spring, and spring for summer. And then vice versa. Then you repeat again. Thankfully, those bats leave guano behind, so we can use that for fertilizers as well. That is a disadvantage to having them around a bit. No, we already have a full stack of seeds. Okay. So, thankfully we have our own lantern. And what we're going to do is we're going to stay within the confines of what is essentially the beginning area of the caves. That's why I didn't turn them off. What's also good is that they have a tendency of illuminating other light flowers. And every few days we're going to come down here and we're going to pretty much pick up whatever we can pick, as much as we can find. Because whatever we don't use for fuel for our lantern, we're going to use as rot for our plants. Now, like I said, we haven't come across any, or too many rather, clockworks, but I suppose what we can do here is branch out a little bit more to discover a few things about our world and what's generated within it. Because we're going to want a few more resources. If I'm being honest, this isn't particularly pivotal. So, even though it is more or less for the short run, we're gonna... what you can do is you can dismantle the pig houses, and they always drop 6 things. They drop 2 cut stone, 2 board, and 2 pigskin for free. Oh, this merm wants to fight. Well, this pig doesn't like this merm, so let's see if he'll help us out. What's good is that we can fight these guys together. There we go. Now, unfortunately, if they get stuck outside, the pigs tend to panic because they don't like the dark. Which makes sense, because during a full moon, you know, they become cursed. The frog legs are going to be good because they're a source of meat. Now, if you were to attack a pig, of course you aggro to them, or they aggro to you, and they're pretty much the same as the merms, but be careful, they kite as well. In other words, they run around on their own. This is also another set piece called the stagehand. I hardly ever use the stagehand myself, and thus it's not even particularly necessary. What I really want to do is to give an opportunity to get more meat, and that is absolutely now present. The fact that we have a weapon and armor, and we can make absolute use of the basilisks by beating them up. This is especially true if you're near a road to make yourself faster. The bats will drop one of three things. They'll drop guano, they'll drop monster meat, or they'll drop a basilisk wing. The wing, again, like I said, is a half unit of meat, and so is very useful for making meatballs. Let's see here. But yeah, like I said, I'm really feeling my inventory space. So I think what I want to do next, before we do anything else, is we're gonna drop off some stuff at base. Because I'm gonna do something that I still think is necessary and should be part of a basic tutorial, because it's a matter of personal choice on what you take for your storage options, and it'll make more sense in a little bit of time. So yeah, I like to call this organized chaos, is until you get a proper storage units going, you're just gonna have to leave things displayed out in a way that makes sense to you, that you can, you know, pick up things as necessary and whatnot. Although it's true that there's not too much I would like to be without. Just realize that if you leave anything at base, you're not going to have access to it if you need it for a recipe. So like I said, the turfs do provide fuel. I mean, not a whole lot, but it's there. So the next thing we need to actually fight is something we haven't come across too often. It's spiders, or a spider den. Now there's possible that there's definitely spider dens up here over in the base, which is fine because I actually kind of want to go back that way anyhow. Oh, but I digress. Sorry. Okay. So, the marble that I picked up is very important because it makes a very solid piece of armor called the marble armor. We're not going to use this until it's time to fight bosses. Now, I'll explain its properties later, but there's something that a lot of people aren't familiar with, is that you can actually grow your own marble. A lot of people don't see this in the refinement tab. You can make a marble bean, and it comes one per piece of marble, and you can plant them, literally, in the ground. I know it's probably hard to see for sure, but there you go. Put them over here. I'll put the light for them, and there they are. It takes about 18 days for them to fully mature, so yeah, get started as soon as possible. I'll also mention that they only grow when you're on screen. So yeah, as relevant, I will explain what does and does not interact or proceed with you on screen. On screen is effectively a little bit past where your point of view is. So in other words, these things have a timer on them starting full of 18 days, and it counts down every time I'm near. So if I were here on screen for 18 days, they would progress. But I need to go out into the world now and then, so it's important to get a head start on that. Okay, we're gonna head back up, but actually no, sorry, I keep doing this. But before I do, I want to make sure that I have enough room for things that I'm going to be utilizing and things that I'm going to be picking up. Ultimately, I'm not going to use this fish morsel until a little bit later. It's good to have the 2 pieces of meat, which means I have a second hambat I can create at any time. The good news is that if a food item that can rot is necessary for an ingredient, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not fully rotted, it isn't turned into rot, you can still use it. So the smart thing to do is to either wait to use the big meat as emergencies for eating, or before they rot, turn them into a new hambat, because by that time, your current hambat would have definitely seen some time. So there's a couple things I want to do here. I need to get more resources, and I need to get specifically more resources for cooking. Now, I don't have the berry bushes up yet, but because gobblers exist, I need to set up what's called a bait pen for them. In order to make that bait pen, I'm going to need some more rope, and I'm going to need some more twigs. And I might actually need some cut boards as well. You know what? This frog legs are still here. We're going to use that too. here's this boomerang, and you know what? This is going to be very important for hunting later, and I'll show you why. Actually, you know what? Okay, I feel a little conflicted about this. Not everybody's going to have a boomerang boon, so you know what? Never mind, I'm not going to use it. Alright, so these are spider dens. You can tell what a spider den stage is at by how big it is, by how big the webbing is, and by how big the tower is. If you can take this big bulbous part off and just have this part here, that's a 1-tier den. This is a 2-tier den, and let's see if we can find a 3-tier sitting around here. Okay, we don't just yet, but there is a 3rd tier that has another bulbous thing apart here. Okay, this over here. This is very important to look out for. This is called a Maxwell set piece. If you don't know the story of DST or Don't Starve 1, this is Maxwell, and before you point out he's one of the playable characters, that's true, because as the story progressed, things became more complicated. But it's a good thing. Excuse me, that's a good thing. I'm a little empty right now. Okay. You'll know a Maxwell, they come in different variations. They all have this carpeted flooring, which I like to use for decorating my base, or at least making the highlights of the boundaries for it, which is what we're going to use it for. And it always comes with a clockwork. Typically a clockwork knight, which if you know the chess pieces. This one likes to bounce around and swing at you. The rook looks like a big rhino, a head of a rhino that charges towards you. The bishop likes to shoot at you. And we'll deal with them in time, I'm certain. But this is very important for lots of reasons. One, this is more sources of marble. So if I ever want to make more marble suits on the hand, I can do that. Or I can synthesize more marble beans and make more of that. But this is good for 2 reasons. One, I have carpeted turf, so I can better organize and highlight my base for you guys, as well as yourselves. And I can now that I have armor, I can fight this clockwork knight. Okay, so here's how his kiting method works. Bait out an attack, come back, swing twice, go away. And by the time you've done that, hopefully he swung at you again. When he's like that, just treat it as free hits. See how our handbat has already gone down to 55 damage from 59? Okay, well-earned loot. It's gonna be very important, and my goodness, I'm already out on some things. Okay, well, I digress, because we're gonna have to make room here. Alright, technically the berries can go. I'm gonna go ahead and collect the marble, just so that I'm covered, and you should too any chance you get when the opportunity presents itself. But the real reason we came here was for the spider dens, because the spider dens teach you to fight what is... Come on, seriously? Are you seriously gonna do this right now? Fine. But we're gonna fight near the road. He keeps running towards me. It's a bit weird. Okay. Well, anyway, that's the whole purpose of armor. Even if you get hit, it allows you to have some forgiveness, and that's absolutely necessary in this game. Almost like say "niet is there." Sorry. Okay. Something that is very important during dusk near spider dens is the spiders are nocturnal. They're these things right here. This is a basic spider warrior. Or, sorry, basic spider. Has 100 health, does 10 damage. Very basic. However, if you attack the spiders too soon on their webbing, it'll call out all of the spiders that are piled up in there. And it depends on its tier. So a tier 1 spider den will have like 4 spiders in it. Oh yeah, like I said, as a specialty to punish you for attacking too early, if you attack them on the den's webbing, it produces all of the spiders that are supposed to be in there, and it also produces a spider warrior, which are the yellow greenish looking ones that have 400 health and deal 20 damage each and have a leaping attack as an option. So yeah, they're much worse, and they attack in broods. Now, This can actually be advantageous for fighting them in dusk because they have herd mentality. In fact, they have an obnoxious herd mentality because it extends to farther than on screen. Now, they're very easy to fight because they're stun lockable, but that was the reason why we're fighting them. Is for silk and for monster meat. I guess the good news about fighting them lower tier dens at dusk is that they have a tendency to not pile up on you, or they come to you rather. This candy cane is an event piece. Don't worry about it, it's just a little bit of food. It's nothing to rely on. So we're looking for silk, and a good amount of silk, but they also drop a third item, which is spider gland. Now you can actually heal yourself with these too. They heal 8 each. It's not worthless, but you know, it's not spectacular either. But okay, I guess it's not worthless. Again, Heavenly Eggnog. It's Winter's Fest, so it's effectively the Christmas season. So, I will say this. I disagree with that hit. So, things like spider dens and the pig houses that you've seen that we broke down, these are things that are called spawners. You can actually destroy these spawners either by hammering them or by attacking them, like we'll see here. The only thing you need to consider is that once you destroy a spawner, there is no... You can't make spider dens in this game. You can make pig houses, but it's a commitment. And the ways I say it's a commitment is because when you break down an item with a hammer, it breaks down with a discount of its materials. So in other words, remember how I explained how the pig heads were built with 4 twigs and 4 pig skin? When we hammered it down, we got 2 twigs and 2 pig skin. So in order to make one again, or rather to make a pig house, we got 2 cut stone and 2 boards. To make a pig house, correct, you need 4 boards and 4 cut stone and 4 pig skin. So whatever I said about resource management, we'll just use this up to take it away. We actually are fortunate that there's only 2 near here. Usually forests are covered with spider dens. Spider dens all start at tier 1 when you start in the world, but by obviously day 15 you can see they've reached stage 2. I'm certain in the next few days, by winter especially, they'll have reached tier 3. Okay, I do have silk, but I want more silk, which means I'm gonna have to wait here for a little bit. Sounds like a new spider regenerated. Put this side down, so hopefully he comes over here and we fight. Yeah, this is the unfortunate limitations of having night in your world. It really does just force you to come to a halt sometimes, or most times. Yay, more silk. Well, I guess I'll do some basic gathering while I'm waiting. We're gonna need more twigs anyhow. We're pretty much always gonna be in need for twigs. Okay, I'm not sure if they've all recovered by now, but actually I'm gonna get hungry in a little bit, so here, I'm gonna put these down. Open our bundle. Eat some food. And then bundle it up again. Okay. So you step on... There should be 2, so these are barely regenerated. You step on the webbing, bring them out. And yeah, because I drained these during the dusk, you're always gonna get a spider warrior who's always guarding it. It's fine if you eat the hits. I wish he dropped some silk for us or monster meat. But anyway, this is what you get for... You get 2 silk for a tier 1, 4 for a tier 2, and naturally you get 6 for a tier 3. plus whatever the spiders dropped for you. We have 5 days until winter. The temperature is going to start to shift low. The first 5 days into a season and the 5 on the way out are going to have... Okay, this is a full den, so hopefully it will give you a message or how to kite these. You step on the webbing to bring them out. Bring them to the edge where they aggro onto you. Do not attack them while they're on the webbing, because that'll cause an emergency response from the den. Usually there's like 3 rounds of this, but again, I dwindled their numbers by attacking them during dusk. So there you have it. Okay. $13 silk seems pretty good, but it's actually not as much as I would like. I think 20 is something we should aim for. Okay, so while we're on approach to winter, I guess I should explain exactly why we've been taking the steps that we have. Alright, so autumn is the neutral season, where it's just the game. The other 3 seasons are going to have major hurdles that you have to face. And here's winters. Okay. Winter, of course, has the lowering temperature. If you get too cold, you'll start taking damage. And yes, it can ramp up if you continue to get more cold and so on and so forth. So it's something you have to be wary of. We're going to make something that's going to tackle that in a little bit. But here's the other thing that's very important to remember about winter. Certain things, like plants, go dormant in winter. So our berry bushes really aren't going to get going until spring. I honestly probably should have been working on them by now, but because I have gobblers activated, I have been hesitant because all the gobblers are going to do is steal our berries while we're gone. Or as we come on screen. But the saplings aren't going to grow back. And the frog ponds are going to freeze over. And the frogs are going to be a good source of... We're going to be a good source of meat for a time. And oh look, we found this should be a swamp patch up here. Make sure they're off. 2 is much easier than 3, of course. You just come back to the 1 and you can hit them and stun lock them. Especially, again, use the road whenever you can. Come hit, run away, and then hit. I'm very certain that during spring I'll be able to show you fighting a 3-tier den. See them? Hit, run away, hit. And that should be it for this den. Okay, you know what? I am going to not destroy this den because I want to grow it into a tier 3 den. And I need to use it. Now, we're going to do something a little bit special with these pigs. They're a way to convert your... Oh, never mind. He went back in. I guess we'll do it another time. Oh, I'm really glad we came up here. Oh, so glad. Because for the next few days, I want to get food, supplies, which we kind of are a little bit. Especially with the monster meat. But what I wanted to do was look for Chester. It looks like there is indeed a second swamp here. And he is indeed in this swamp. So here's the eye bone, and the eye bone's very important. Don't freak out. Something's going to come towards you. Oh, and I guess he brought a friend. Anyway, there's definitely spiders in these swamps as well, because you needed more of a reason for these things to be annoying, right? Chester is great because, as his name suggests, he is a living chest. He is a portable living chest. Otto von Chesterfield Esquire as as Wilson playfully refers to him as. So yeah, he's a way to put away your tools, anything you don't immediately need, anything that's maxed out stacks, you know, and you can keep, of course, adding to him, which is totally fine. Stuff like that, and all for the price of 1 inventory slot. So yeah, a lot of inventory management's been represented here because with each gift wrap, you condense into 1 inventory slot up to 4 slots, so you in essence can get a net worth of 3 slots. And Chester is just a net worth of 8 slots for his 1. Well, since the reeds are so important, I see no reason why not to collect a few while we're here. This was also a patch. I know I called it a patch earlier because how often I play this game. This wasn't a whole other swamp, but it's, yeah, like I said, it's a small piece of swamp, so it technically counts. So anyway, yeah, so in getting ready for living during winter, we just need to make a way for us to survive 15 days. And a lot of that is going to come from building up food reserves in order for us to make it through those days. Now, something I should mention is that not all things are barred from growing during winter. In fact, there is one thing that we haven't done quite yet because I'm not used to playing on such short amount of time during the day. Unfortunately, we got a schedule to keep. Good, he dropped the silk. Okay. We have an okay amount of silk right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight any straggling spiders that I see along the way. We're going to make our way back home. Oh, good. We just found something very important here. And I just aggroed a whole lot of warriors. So yeah, don't push yourself if you're ever in a situation like this. We're going to come back here during winter, make no mistake. And don't worry if Chester gets hit. He regenerates health really fast, rapidly throughout the day. And if he should ever die, the only thing you need to worry about is anything he was filled with, he spills out into the world. So if anything was indeed edible on the ground, it could be eaten by whatever killed him. But non-edibles, anything else that isn't obviously, won't be taken up. And you can always come back and pick it up later. He'll regenerate within 1 full day. So 8 minutes from the time he died, he'll respawn. So there's really 2 things that you absolutely want to get ready for winter. That is food shortages and a boss. Because like I said in the beginning, I guess there's this random Merm guard or Merm out here. He also won't leave me alone. It's rather annoying. Could fight in the dark, but I'd rather not. This also shows the pivotal attribute of making sure you're fast in this game. And making sure you have kiting patterns down. Some kiting patterns are a little bit different for other people. It really can depend. I put my shovel inside Chester, right? Yeah. Well, one thing I can say is that as we amass these berry bushes, we can farm them right now. And because we have gift wrap, whatever excess we build up, we can stow away for later. So yeah, I stand by, as a basic principle, letting people activate Winter's Fest. So you can make, the gift wrap. Because I'm certain, in my own, I'm being honest, I think Clay's down for it. So, might as well do it. it really does make the game much more, again, accessible and much more bearable when you have a better way of managing stuff. It just becomes far too tedious to have to worry about feeding yourself all year round, and that's kind of it. You kind of, especially in winter, my gosh. My opening feelings on winter, aside from the necessary things that you need to get from it, is, aside from that, I was, for the longest time, at base, just waiting for winter to end. Can you be over so I can move away from my campfire so I don't have to worry about being cold and not having to rewarm myself with the item we're gonna make every single time? You know what? Yeah, let's do that. So, if you feed the pigs food, especially meat specifically, if you feed them like vegetarian stuff, it won't count. But if you feed them 4 monster meats, something very particular happens to them. It's not the best thing. In fact, it can be kind of bad. At first, he turns into a werepig. Now, the other pigs won't worry about you fighting this werepig because he's not an ally anymore. But they also won't help. So you swing at him twice and move away, swing at him twice and move away. And the reason you turn them into werepigs is that they give you their entire loot pool all at once. Yep, they give you 2 big meats and a pigskin. And even though that's losing 2 monster meats, or that's turning 4 monster meat into 2 large meats and a pigskin, is a little bit of a loss, but it really depends on how much you need, you know, more pigskin. Remember, each pigskin with 2 big meat is pretty much a free hambat, and it's also a football helmet, and which we're still on our first one, which is pretty good. Tell you what, I'm just going to pick these berries. I'm not going to actually shovel them up just yet. Probably do that in spring. Now, if you wanted to, you could fight the pigs individually, but that's a lot of effort for 1 and 3 items that you could get. It's not particularly, you know, it's not a big, massive gain. A lot of the game comes in terms of, again, it's not just inventory management, but resource management as well. So you really have to ask yourself, when making farms or when farming for a particular something, you gotta do the math for yourself. Like, do I want 2 meat today, or do I want to build up to where I can get 20 meat in a week? You know, it's doing the math. Do I want to bother making a farm to get you know, so many berries a single time, or am I okay with, you know, walking around and picking stuff up? You know, it really is a matter of trying to up your efficiency. And mind you, these are on default settings, so you can still get these numbers yourself. It's why I thought it was very important for leaving them on default. And again, why I feel it's very important and a decent enough game changer for allowing for gift wrap to be a thing. Because the only real downside about gift wrap is you always have to be making sure you have enough for gift wrap. And again, since the flowers are so readily available, the only thing you need to worry about is acquiring reeds, which, to be fair, is something you probably have noticed is, why haven't I dug up any reeds? Well, on default settings, or on console, you cannot, without a mod, in other words, an external mod, you cannot dig up reeds and replant them wherever. There is a mod called Add Shovel that lets you dig up things that you shouldn't, including, like, mushroom planters, and plant them all near your base. But on default, that's not what you're able to do. And honestly, with the expansion, they released the Curse of Moon K Island. You can get items called monkey tails, which are essentially just a way to get cut reeds, and you can plant those. But that's ocean content, so, you know, it's also rather later in the time. So now we're gonna go on a sort of gathering binge. as well as hunting bench. And speaking of which, we haven't actually done a proper hunt yet. Okay, so the next time I see a suspicious dirt pile, we're gonna do that. So you see, I've been taking a little bit advantage of the scope of, you know, going out of my way a little bit more to explore some of the blank areas. I'm also aware I'm gonna get starving soon, but in my experience, in a game called Don't Starve, you generally stop worrying about starving immediately, again, because I said you don't die immediately either. There's the space. Oh, by the way, your field, your light field radius, if you will, yeah, that's exactly what it's called. The radius of your light is going to be affected by how much fuel is in there. So on the more later end, you can expect to have almost on the higher end, you can have this radius, but on the lower end, you can expect to have it as bad as almost as bad as having a torch. Oh, that's what I want to do, but I didn't have the chance to. Shoot. That was all the way up there, wasn't it? Well, I guess we're going for a jog again. I wanted to get the carpeted flooring with my pitchfork, which I'm pretty sure I put in Chester. Please tell me I put it in Chester. I think I put it in Chester. I hope I put it in Chester. Don't worry about him being slow. Anybody with a spawner, or with something they're attached to either way, they'll just appear off screen near you and they'll bounce away like they've been lagging behind all along. So yeah, go at top speed always if you have to. You don't have to worry about Chester losing you or losing interest, etc. We should also be expecting to have a hound wave in a little bit as well. So I gotta keep an ear out for that. Okay, Chester, please tell me I have the bitch for you. Oh dear. Well, it's not a massive cost, right? But anyway, I need to consolidate some space, so here. So I'm gonna put, if you want to save on time, you can always pause to auto sort yourself. That's pretty much its own spot, so that's the spot it's gonna take. Well, good news is that the basic flint tools are very cheap. So I'll just make a new one. So yeah, turfing, which is also what we're doing here and what we're going to start doing now, is really just more for your benefit, so it's a bit more meta than actually game-changing, although I will admit, certain things will grow on certain turfs, and certain things will not grow on certain turfs. This will be very important, especially in spring. Remember the item I told you is the most important single item that naturally occurs in the game is the lure plant? Well, the lure plant is actually a menace. What the lure plant is going to do is going to produce other branches of, like, vine, or underneath the ground called eyeballs. Eye plant eyeballs. Yeah, I know it sounds gross, but it'll make more sense when you see them as well. But what the lure plant does, the eyeball grabs things off of the ground and it destroys stuff in its center unit. Okay, so we are in a very large, what looks to be a very large, it almost looks like, yeah, I was gonna say, it's 2 ponds worth of frogs. Okay, well, naturally, the frogs are important to us because they're frog legs, and they're not gonna be around during winter, so let's put some more things away, because I'm gonna need some more room here. I mean, I guess this counts as hunting, right? We are feeding up these frogs. Probably not gonna pick up another berry bush. And the hammer we can use... I'm not looking for any pigskins yet. And naturally you can put all these bundles inside of Chester for deconstruction later. We have some, we have some trail mix, so we have 60 health worth of healing. So I say we do this now. These frogs are gonna get angry at me. Oh, you know what? Shoot. Okay, this is actually bad. Let me explain why. My Hambat isn't fresh enough. So it takes 3 swings to kill the frogs instead of 2. And you know what? I think it is absolutely worthwhile. And I put the pigskins away, didn't I? Okay. Well, looks like we're gonna do this the hard way, manually. I'm gonna actually have to kite the suckers. So I have to hit them twice, go away, and then go in for another hit. Just because I get a little nervous with Chester following me. Not that you can attack him, but it's a bit odd, the timing. Also, the frog's kiting is really odd. With them, you hit once and run. You'll actually see this with bees later. Although bees are less jerks, at least not in spring. Oh, I got another one coming up on the other side. You know what? At this point, I think we're just gonna commit. Sometimes you just gotta put your foot down and keep swinging. In a method that the community affectionately calls tank and spank. Just take the hit. They don't do too much damage. What's really annoying about them that you saw is they knocked stuff out of your inventory. But we got a trail mix, and honestly, we still don't even need to use it. Honestly, I think it was more of a blessing. I didn't want to have to waste. I didn't have to waste the pigskin I got here. Okay, if you'll notice, what's also cool about the game is as the seasons begin to change, you'll start seeing visual cues. So this is helpful for anybody who doesn't have this on like console, or doesn't have the numbers memorized in their head as to how many days you have of what season left. Now I did drop Chester's eye bone, and it's true, you have to remember to pick it up, because if you don't, he won't follow you again. He doesn't show up on the, much to everybody's chagrin, he doesn't show up on the, he and his eye bone don't show up on the map. You'd have to have a live feed for that, or, what's... Anything that's highlighted right now in lights or the circle around me is a live update of what's going on in the map at the time. Everything else is not. So in other words, if another player was in here and they tore down this pig house, on my map it would still be there. Until I went there myself, in which case it would update. It's like, oh yeah, there's no pig house there. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. Bats. You guys are a source of meat. Come back here. They like to circle you, and it's a little bit of a telling thing for their telegraphing attacks. They'll roar at you, or I don't know, whatever the screeching is, until they come in closer, and then you fight the one that comes in closer. And if you're fast enough, you can just attack them. Or if you're stubborn, like I've been. Use that up. I believe the bat wings count as monster food, so you don't want to combine them with monster meat in the same crockpot dish, or you'll get a dead... Well, okay, unless you're the character Weber, it's pretty much a dead, it's a dead crockpot dish called monster lasagna. It's anytime, it punishes you for using too much monster meat as an ingredient, any more than 1 unit. Because it fills your belly, but it's really, it's a last-ditch effort. It's just for hunger value. Monster meat and even monster lasagna will fill your belly, but they'll hurt your sanity and your health. So you gotta be careful about that. It looks like it might be a little bit too early for us to harvest these lands. Oh, nope, not for some. Okay, good, some of them regenerated. We're also gonna make sure we have enough of a stock to help us during winter, which is in going to be in 2 days, effectively. So yeah, this is the symptoms you'll have for losing your sanity, is you'll see these highs and all that stuff. Yeah, it's for atmosphere only, don't worry too much. But you also notice that our handbat is starting to go stale. Although, just to emphasize how good the handbat is, this still does more damage than a spear. So yeah, it still outclasses it. It's still the better weapon. Also, you'll notice that when you go down to the caves, Chester can't come with you. Oh, I thought I heard something. Okay, you hear that? Like almost like fireworks going off? It's not. It's meteors. The meteors will also tend to go off near where the Full Pastern is, so thankfully been rather fortunate. They do damage to you, not a ton, but enough to be annoying. The thing we have to worry about is that if they land on anything that we've built or planted, it'll uproot them. I think we've just barely dodged it. I don't think this grass and this twigs are going to be back in time for us to harvest them again. So we might as well harvest them now all the same and see if maybe we might get a chance for it. In all honesty, I'm not too worried about our sanity, because when we fight the winter season boss, she's going to nuke our sanity anyway. So there's really no point into working towards building it up. And besides, we want to fight a few nightmare creatures, so it's actually its own good thing. Okay, so for what I do is any full stacks I have of an item, I just leave on the ground. We gotta unpack these quite literally. But first, what I would like to do is start basing a bit. Okay. In a nice little patch. Okay, what we're gonna do is make a basic kitchen. What I like to make as the centerpiece for that kitchen is what we need the gears for. But the gears, I believe, are put away, so let's open this up. There's the extra marble. Here's the gears. Now, the pigskin can be eaten off the ground, but there's nothing carnivorous here except, I guess, well, us, we're omnivorous, but... Okay. So, what you're gonna want for this item is... It's going to be in your cooking tab. It's the ice box. You need 2 gold, 1 cut stone, and 1 gear. Right, I said I would make everything vanilla skins, so this is what we're going to make. We have 1 ice chest. We have 1 crock pot here, but it's kind of out of place. That also being said, I would like some more crock pots, so we can cook a bit more at once. That is going to require, not gears, it's going to require more cut stone. We have enough cut stone. We need charcoal. Where did I put my charcoal? I know it's around here on the ground somewhere. Here it is. Good. We have 20 berry bushes. Oh right, I put a full stack of twigs down. That's not my only stack of twigs, is it? I thought I put some away in... Yeah, they should be in this bundle as well. Yeah. There's more rocks than we'll need. Some necessary things. Okay. And yeah, we don't have to be... add the alchemy engine for that. We'll need more cutstone, which we can always refine from our rocks, but we're also going to need more charcoal, which you can always make with torch later. Believe me, during winter, there's going to be an open opportunity for that as it stands, so in the meantime, we'll just leave it there. Okay, some things to make note of. Now that we have our ice chest, what the ice chest does is very useful for maintaining the health of anything that can rot. So in essence, any like foods and stuff like that, it cuts it in half. So in other words, it increases its freshness by 50%. You can look at it. And that's going to be very pivotal for any time that it's not on your person. Just go ahead and do that. Find this into papyrus. And there is another thing that I need to get going that I need the silk for, is for effectively two important things. One is going to be in foods and gardening. It's actually going to be this bird trap. Yeah, seriously. Why do we have a bird trap? Well, because we need a bird, of course. Why do we need a bird? I'll tell you in a little bit. It actually has a lot to do with why we need the papyrus. We needed that because we needed a bird cage. And we need the bird cage to keep the bird in, naturally. Where will I put this? Oh good, we got one immediately. And we got a red bird, how nice. Where will I put this guy? Looks like our... it's gonna be over there. I'm sorry, but the feng shui must be maintained. To some degree. I guess I'll expand those out that way. And more or less as, I don't know, let's just do it as an add-on, yeah? You'll develop your own design ethos as time goes on, but I'm just making a very utilitarian setup here. Very basic. Now, fun fact, you can actually store your Hambat in there and it will, again, rot at half rate. So we go ahead and we put the bird in the, well, the new birdhouse. It's over here. Let's refuel this. Okay, what's going to be very important about the birdhouse, or rather the bird in the bird cage, well, I guess I'll have to show it off this way. Unfortunately, he's asleep right now, but there's a little trick where you can take him out, put him back in, and then feed him what you want to feed him. And what we're going to feed him right now is some meat. Every time you feed him meat, he will give you eggs in return. The eggs are a very key ingredient to a very important crockpot dish that we need to make. You can always get away with making 3 before he falls asleep. So I use that to heal us, but we're gonna need more. We're gonna need more hunger food. So let's go ahead and make some more meatballs. Because seriously, why not? We can cook up as much as we want to right now because of thankfully we have the gift wrap. And thankfully it'll be plenty enough to keep us sated. Something you can also thankfully put in... Oh, there's a mole over here. He's trying to eat our minerals. Make sure you always prevent them from doing that. They're the reason why you might be concerned with leaving minerals on the ground, at least in your immediate area, if you're not basing in the key place where it's safe. That being said, we have not discovered those places yet. I guess I'll give up any... I'll stop acting coy about it and say what it is. There's out here in this world there are 2 desert biomes. One of them is called the Oasis Desert, which is the pinnacle one I wanted to talk to you about. It's always a great place to base in. That's actually very safe. The other one is called Dragonfly Desert, and it's called Dragonfly Desert because you notice from the boss tab that I talked about is home to Dragonfly, and even though she's not always aggro to you while you're in there, it's not the most hospitable because there's always Houndmounds in there too. So basically saying you just gotta be careful with it. Okay, today is our last day of autumn, so it is going to be winter tomorrow. And we've got to be very careful about what we do now. Because we're going to lose some things in a little bit. But it's really just more to be a matter of changing our game style. So before we do anything else, we're going to need... Actually, no, we should be fine. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, make sure to put your unused dishes in... If they're not bundled, make sure you put them in the ice chest. What I want to do now is make that very important dish. Or the very important crockpot dish. I believe it should still work with the frog legs. So let's see it. So what you do is you put one meat unit, one egg, one vegetable, and one filler. So obviously berries is the best pick. And it should make the item I'm looking for. Yep. These are pierogies. It turned out more than pretty good. Why are the pierogies great? These are going to be your #1 healing item for early to mid game and maybe even a little bit of late game if you prefer. These heal for 40 health, and now it's not as much as the Tall-Scotch Egg 60 health improvement healing with 150 hunger, but let's also be frank, how readily available are these eggs right now? Now, as long as you have pierogies, you can mass heal, you know, continuously. And considering we're going to go up against, we're going to be forced, a boss is going to be forced on us in winter. We're going to want many of these. And don't worry, if you need more eggs, you can always feed them to the bird. You always, if you need more eggs, you can always feed the frog legs to the bird. Now, the question is, why don't you use the frog legs for meatballs? And I think you can, but you gotta be careful because the developers were all aware of this, and they want to prevent you from using frog legs for meatballs because there's a food item specifically, there's 2 food items specifically for frog legs. Oh, sorry, no, it is one. It's called a Froggle Bunwich, and it's to ensure that you don't have easy access to meatballs via frogs. So yeah, just best stick with the recipes I showed you, and it'll be more than fine. Okay, now, there is good reason to have this normal pickaxe here, and that's because of the item you want for winter. Thankfully, there is also a winter tab for items you want to look out for. And one of them is this item. It's called Thermal Stone. Now, this Thermal Stone is very useful for anything that has to deal with temperature. For indeed, it can keep you warm in winter, it can also keep you cool in summer, and we'll get to that when the time comes. But in the meantime, let's bundle what we have here so far. Oops, hold on. I forgot I have a morsel here. I can use that for another meatball. Just kidding, put these away. Make sure they hold up. Now, thankfully, anything that hasn't been picked during when winter rolls in will still be harvestable. So, for example, any saplings we come across that we haven't harvested before winter set in will still yield, it won't be wilted or anything, it'll still yield us, it'll still give us, you know, a sapling stuff. It'll still give us a twig. Okay, I'm going to leave this, these 2 meats are specifically going to be our hambat for the boss fight. And we're going to do what we need to do with the seeds in due time. But anyway, you want the thermal stone because it's going to keep you warm during summer. Problem is, there's a little bit of a caveat here. You always you have to warm it up first. So initially, the thing you would always warm it up against is, you know, a fire pit. But there's absolutely going to be a time where you're not going to have that accessibility. Now, in anticipation for this boss fight, I want you to, one, make the thermal stone, which is, of course, anticipation for winter, but I also want you to pre-make a campfire. Don't build it, just prototype it. This is actually a good skill to learn for certain things later. You don't have to immediately set yourself up for a certain thing. So here's something you can do on the fly as well. If you need to be provided light, as well as heat during winter, you can set fire to, you know, say, a tree or a fire patch or whatever. Remember, what you burn is technically going to determine how long it burns for. For example, these flared up after this tree did, but the tree's still burning. And you'll see physically that the thermal stone goes through two phases. At yellowish, it's warm, but at red, it's hottest. And yes, the time and length you take to let it warm up, it can reach a further maximum. Now the good news about the bird cage is that we can still use the bird cage to trap birds and hopefully get morsels out of them, thus making opportunity for more meatballs. You also notice that a fully warmed thermal stone, it's a little hard to see him, but you can still see Wilson. So it will protect you from the dark. Even though it's not, you know, technically so comfortable as to be seeing everything. Naturally, you can keep the heat going this way. Just taking a quick inventory. Yes. Okay. We're gonna get the pigskin again. And unfortunately, we have to do this at night. But we still have a concern about storage, and I'm going to tell you something that is very high. Well, it's very much a bit of a double-edged sword. I wouldn't call it high risk if you just know what to do, when to do it. But there is, like I said, other backpacks here. This insulated backpack requires an item that drops from the boss of Autumn. If you remember in the settings section, the beginning of this series, I told you that he doesn't show up until next year's Autumn. That being said, there is one other backpack on here. It's called the Piggyback. It requires 4 pigskin, 6 silk, and 2 rope. And it comes with... Let's see here, this is 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It comes with 13 auxiliary... So in other words, 5 more slots for your backpack. You're like, well, that sounds great. Why don't you just make it immediately? Why? Because it's called a piggyback, because it slows you down, as it says right here. So I guess the bigger question is, well, how much does it slow you down? They actually buffed this when they went from Don't Starve 1 to Don't Starve 2. In Don't Starve 1, it was minus 25% speed, which is indeed really bad. However, recently, they've increased when they moved over to DST, they've only increased to minus 10%. So are you going to feel a little bit slower? Yes, but really what's the kicker is that it makes you so slow as to throw off your kiting patterns. Unless you are on mouse and keyboard or are really used to fighting certain enemies or have access to a road. Remember, the road gives you 25% increase of speed? Well, 25 minus 10 is still 15%, so you could still help mitigate that with that. I'm gonna make it anyway. So as long as we're wearing this, we are 10% slower. I absolutely say that it is very much worth all of this extra space. It's hard to notice. You'll feel the difference, especially more than you'll notice it. But yeah, it's absolutely worth it. And if you're worried about kiting, make sure, this is where, again, where inventory management is important. You want to remember where things are in your inventory. This is generally the... I'm used to dealing with this many slots, at least until I get the best backpack in the game, but that's from one of the strike bosses, so we're not going to get it this time. This is where inventory management is going to be very pivotal, and it's going to be shown in the fight with the winter boss. Speaking of the winter boss, because we thankfully found another set piece with marble on it, I'm going to make a second marble suit.